Thanks to Christopher Nolan, it looks like we could be getting some more Friday the 13th and South Park action. How? According to The Hollywood Reporter, a new deal between Warner Brothers and Paramount has paved the way for WB to get involved in the Paramount film Interstellar, being directed by Christopher Nolan, by giving over the rights to Friday the 13th and South Park to Paramount. John, break this down for us.
Yeah, follow me here. This is like much stuff in Hollywood, this is a weird and convoluted, interweaving kind of thing. Okay, so when Friday the 13th first came out, the way I understand it, WB and Paramount actually, one of them had the domestic distribution rights to the original Friday the 13th and one of them had the foreign rights. Later on, the film's creator got the rights back for himself and started making new Friday the 13th with New Line. New Line was then later purchased by Warner Brothers, but Paramount still, as it turns out, held on to some of the rights from the original deal in some weird, convoluted way. So when they remade Friday the 13th not so long ago, both of them were kind of involved in one way or another with the Friday the 13th remake that we had a short time ago. So that's how that stood. With South Park, it's kind of the same thing. The South Park movie came out, okay, so South Park was on Comedy Central, which was a combination of an HBO with the Ha network at the time. HBO, of course, a Warner Brothers thing. Ha was kind of controlled by Paramount, and then they merged that, made the Comedy Network. One of the two studios then pulled out. But when they pulled out, when Warner Brothers pulled out, they still had some of the rights, as it turns out, to South Park. So you have South Park and Friday the 13th that are both kind of have Paramount's and Warner Brothers' fingers kind of dangling in the hot, messy goo of Friday the 13th and South Park. So what they've done now is Paramount has the rights to Interstellar. Paramount is doing Interstellar. Interstellar is a Paramount film written by Christopher Nolan's brother, Jonathan, and it was supposed to be directed by Steven Spielberg. Now, Steven Spielberg then backed out of it so he could go and do Robopocalypse. Warner Brothers has done a lot of stuff with Christopher Nolan, and they want to stay in the Christopher Nolan game. So they want to share in the rights with Paramount. Paramount says, okay, you can come into it. We get to share the risk with you in making this sci-fi movie. You give us back all the remaining rights to Friday the 13th and South Park, so they're ours. Warner Brothers says, okay, cool, but you have to do something with those two properties within the first 5 years. So that means Paramount has to give us a new Friday the 13th and a new South Park film within the next 5 years, or else the rights revert back to Warner Brothers. Have you stayed with me? Because I'm not even sure I've stayed with myself. This is interesting because it does give us the possibility that we're going to get another South Park movie, which I'm enthusiastic about. You can make that for pretty damn cheap, and it doesn't have to make much of the box office to be profitable. And South Park for me is hit and miss. A lot of times the episodes are just nonsense, but sometimes they do an episode that just makes me roll on the floor. Like the Shake Weight episode they did, the World of Warcraft episode they did. They've done a lot of episodes that are just all-time classics, so I'd like to see what they do with the movie. And, you know, hey, who doesn't like to have a little bit of Friday the 13th in their life every once in a while? So this is good for everybody. Warner Brothers gets to stay in the Christopher Nolan game, Paramount gets the rights to Friday the 13th and South Park, and we as fans get to see a new Christopher Nolan movie and new Friday the 13th and South Park. So it's kind of a win all the way around. Amy Rose, how do you look at this?
Very interesting. Friday the 13th, we'll start with that. The original is just such a classic, and I definitely, I love the horror genre, big fan, but I mean, the one that just came out, I believe it was in 2009, it was fun. I mean, it was creepy, but it wasn't anything like the original suspense lock for me, right, which is generally the case with 80s slasher movies. I mean, it's hard to really capture that. I mean, granted, they're potentially a lot more gory nowadays. Like, the new Evil Dead was so awesome. But yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, I do see them when they come out because I do love this genre so much, and I just love the adrenaline of, the suspense and the build. But I can't say I wouldn't like to see an original horror film take. South Park, I kind of lay on the same end. I kind of agree with you there. I like South Park. It's funny. It's clever. I've always been more of a Family Guy fan myself. I love Seth MacFarlane's humor, and I love the characters a lot. So out of the two, that's always been the one that's a little more niche for me. But South Park's great. It's funny. Would you like to see a Christopher Nolan South Park movie? Let's get crazy. But yeah, Interstellar looks great. I love Christopher Nolan, and the cast is getting stacked. I just really want to hear more about the film. I know it deals with time travel, wormholes, and all that, but true to Nolan, you know, he's keeping it a little under wraps, and I really like the work that him and his brother do together. I think Jonathan's really, really great, and I'd really like to see more films from Jonathan behind the lens. I think that he's really got something to say, and I'd really like to see them collaborate more, and maybe Jonathan step up. So yeah, I'm excited by all this news. Should be interesting to see how it turns out.
Hey guys, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button and make sure you subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and will keep you up to date on all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC movie talk show. Also, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to find out about our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.